The boss arenas in Final Fantasy XIV are usually just a basic square or circle.
Wow.
However, they are some of the best designed arenas in the game, whether it be the landmarks on the floor to designate safe spots, or giving experienced players cues as to what to expect. Crucially, the distinguishable marks are placed purposefully, so some fights that have no AoE indicators don't even need waymarks, because you can use the arena itself to determine where is safe. While that is super important for killing the bosses, an arguably more important but less noticeable detail of what makes these arenas fantastic is the storytelling through background elements alone. In the Warriors of Darkness arc, after the conclusion of the Dragon Song, we meet a group of warriors from the first. During this plotline, we learn that the world was flooded by light, and most of the world was rendered uninhabitable. Well, more so the flood is currently happening because time flows differently in the first, at least for now. So Minfilia sacrifices herself to stop the flood. And then we go through all of Stormblood without ever referencing the first, and it's like, wait, was all this just a filler arc? But no. Shadowbringers is all about the first, and the raid story bringing the elements back, undoing the flood. To finish Shadowbringers, you have to do one of the 5 role quests: melee DPS, range DPS, caster, tank, or healer. These quests explain how the 5 Warriors of Darkness from Heavensward came together while we put their souls to rest. The exception being the warrior who follows the player through the MSQ of Shadowbringers. However, once you do all 5 role quests, you unlock a finishing quest where you get to see exactly what caused the Flood of Light 100 years ago, which was what caused the Warriors of Darkness to even come to Eorzea in the first place. Sylva takes you to this castle on top of this mountain in Lakeland, and explains that her goal was to forge the Warriors of Light through the flames of conflict and sacrifice to create a rejoining. But instead of slaying Sylva, she was instead spared, with the Flood of Light occurring upon the defeat of Mitran and Logrith instead. The Eden Raid story was all about bringing life back to the first by manifesting our memories of the primals we have fought throughout the game: Leviathan, Titan, Rebel, Ifrit and Guru together, and finally Shield. Though, the primals aren't the only thing we fought during this raid series. As great as the entire raid series is, I want to focus mostly on the last 2 fights. I noticed the Duty Finder descriptions during editing this video, and things are explained in a bit more detail. However, I think the topic is still relevant because it came to the correct conclusion from just the zones. Okay, now back to the video. The second boss of the last tier was the Shadowkeep. The intro mentions that this happened 100 years ago, but nothing more. From there it is up to the player to piece everything else together. First you notice that the arena is set in Lakeland, and you go, oh, this isn't just Lakeland, it's where Sylva revealed himself as the Shadowkeep in her armor. And finally you put it together and realize that you are an armorsmith and was come with the Shadowkeep. Before Shadowbringer starts, Thancred rescues the Oracle of Light Ryne from the jail of Yulmore. Thancred's arc in the story proper is him protecting her from Ranjit, a general for the city of Yulmore, while coming to grips that while Ryne is a reincarnation of Minfilia, whom Thancred has feelings for, she is her own person. Because that's the basic background information required going into Eden 11. In this fight, we come to a very strange design initially. While, yes, the markings on the ground do serve as very useful markings for safe spots, the rest, however, is confusing. Like, why is the arena held up by cages in the middle of a prison? Or why is the boss named Fatebreaker? Why does he have a gunblade and a dragon? And then it starts to make sense, at least for me. This boss design is a combination of Thancred and Ranjit. But why them, you are probably asking your screen waiting for me to answer. Well, dear viewer, let me answer that for you. This fight is how to Ryne, Thancred, and Ranjit both wanted to keep her in her prison. Thancred wanted to keep her as his Minfilia, at least at the start of the story, and Ranjit a literal prison at the bottom of Yulmore. The name Fatebreaker is in reference to how the former helps Ryne become her own person, or in other words, breaking her from the fate all oracles in Light face. It's why, even though Thancred grew as a character, and his motivations changed from saving Minfilia to accepting that his Minfilia was gone, and Ryne deserves a life of her Uh-oh. Somewhere in Ryne's memories, she thought of Thancred as just another jailer. No, not that jailer. Finally for Eden. In Eden 12, after Gaia regains her memories and the plot all comes together, and her and Metron become the final boss, we get the perfect final boss of any game mechanically, in my opinion. Eden's promise, drawing upon our memories of the past primals to mimic their attacks, is thematically great due to the memories being the core theme of Eden, but it also puts all of the skills you've learned from doing the other fights to use as a fantastic final exam. But even beyond that, in normal, we save Gaia from having all of her memories destroyed, and prevent her from becoming an Ascian again, all while we get snapshots of Gaia's memories flying around in the background, letting us see that her new memories are important. But then in Savage, we fail, and Gaia awakens as her Ascian self, Wogrith, or also known as the Oracle of Darkness. In the Elpis dungeon, the second boss is a three-headed snake man, who may or may not have broken out of captivity. It is really cool when you finally get to Pandemonium, and you notice the statues at the base of the stairs in the background are of that same boss. What are some of your favorite designed areas or instances, especially in regards to the visual storytelling? Let me know in the comments. Until next time.